When it comes to the world's most dangerous criminals, certain names come to mind, leaving a bloody mark on history. From brutal serial killers to masters of escape, they broke not only laws but human nature itself.
My name is Knox, and today we will dive into a world where each figure became a symbol of terror, making prison walls tremble.
And by the end, you'll learn how one of these criminals managed to accomplish something that seemed impossible.
Michael Gordon.
Charles Bronson, born Michael Gordon Peterson, became a true nightmare for the British legal system, earning the reputation of being the most dangerous inmate. His tendency toward violence showed itself early in street fights and conflicts. The year 1974 marked a turning point for Bronson. An attempted robbery at a post office in Luton ended in an armed standoff with the police. For this crime, he was convicted and transferred to the high-security psychiatric hospital Broadmoor. However, the Sisyphean task of controlling Bronson was just beginning. His violent behavior didn't subside in the hospital. He repeatedly took hostages and clashed with the guards. Over the years in custody, Bronson gained the title of Britain's most dangerous prisoner. Armed with physical strength and an uncompromising will, he remained a constant threat to the prison system. His defiance and resistance became legendary, making him a living nightmare for both guards and inmates.
Jonathan Starks.
Born and raised in a world of violence and crime, Jonathan Starks etched his name into history as one of the most dangerous prisoners. From the start, his life was filled with law-breaking. After a failed attempt to steal a car and his subsequent imprisonment, it seemed he might have a chance at rehabilitation. However, July 2013 became a turning point. Just after gaining freedom, he began a brutal killing spree that shocked the residents of Omaha, Nebraska. In just a week, he took the lives of 4 people. His bizarre behavior in court only deepened the mystery surrounding his actions.
He claimed to have acted under the influence of an ancient snake god he called Apis.
While his mental state was the subject of much debate, he was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to death. Society's unanimous reaction was clear. His crimes left no room for anything but the highest punishment. This chilling story reminds us how a life steeped in violence and chaos can leave a path of destruction, leading to tragic outcomes.
Richard Lee McNair.
Richard Lee McNair is a name that evokes both fear and awe. This man became famous for his extraordinary ability to escape, turning him into a legend among both inmates and law enforcement. Born on December 19, 1958, McNair was convicted of murder and robberies, but these crimes only fueled his thirst for freedom. He escaped from prison 3 times, demonstrating incredible cunning and determination. His most remarkable escape occurred in 2006 when he managed to hide in a mailbag and was taken right out of the prison. This daring act caused quite a stir. However, even the most skillful escapees make mistakes eventually. In 2007, after a long chase, he was caught in Canada. Richard Lee McNair is now incarcerated at ADX Florence, home to the country's most dangerous criminals. While his escapes went down in history, modern prison security systems make such feats nearly impossible. McNair's story serves as a reminder of how far a person can go to taste freedom, even if it's ultimately unreachable.
John Smithson.
Long Beach, California, 1952. The world saw the birth of one of the most sinister prisoners in U.S. history, John Smithson. First imprisoned in the early 1970s, he quickly became entrenched in criminal activities within the prison.
His ties to the Aryan Brotherhood only solidified his reputation.
In 1980, harsh justice sentenced him to life for murdering another inmate. But even behind bars, his propensity for violence didn't wane. 1983 was a fateful year when his fury claimed another victim, guard Merle Cutts. Another death was now on his record. This inmate, who became a symbol of relentless brutality and aggression, spent the next 36 years in continuous isolation. He became an emblem of prison violence and loneliness, spending decades in solitary confinement. After such severe punishment, he left this world in 2019, leaving behind a grim legacy. His story now serves as a dark reminder of how fragile peace and order can be behind prison walls. John Smithson, whose name became synonymous with horror, will forever be remembered as one of the most violent and dangerous men ever to be incarcerated in American prisons.
Alvin Francis.
The man known as Alvin Francis Karpis was one of the most dangerous criminals of his time. Under the alias Alvin Francis Karpavicius, he embarked on a criminal path, becoming a key figure in the Barker-Karpis gang in the 1930s. He was a master of robberies and kidnappings, making him a top priority for law enforcement. His 1936 arrest was a significant event. Karpis was one of the few criminal masterminds sentenced to life in Alcatraz. For 26 years, he remained in America's most notorious prison, rubbing shoulders with equally infamous inmates. After his release in 1969, he tried to start a new life, but the weight of his past clung to him. Finding himself in Spain, he sought peace, but the shadow of his criminal history followed him until his death in 1979. Karpus's story reminds us that sometimes even the most hardened criminals can't escape their own legacy.
Letby.
In the dark corridors of British prisons, there are few inmates whose cold mind and cruelty inspire as much terror as one woman. Her name is Letby. In her youth, Letby chose to dedicate her life to helping newborns by becoming a nurse. However, her promise to help quickly turned into a dark chapter in British medical history. For several years, while working in the neonatal ward, Letby quietly worked alongside her colleagues until troubling statistics about infant deaths began to raise alarms.
In 2018, she was arrested, and the country learned the horrifying truth.
During her trial, Letby was revealed as a cold-blooded killer who injected deadly amounts of air into infants, causing their deaths. The reasons behind her actions remain a mystery, filled with senseless cruelty and a twisted desire to play God. In 2024, Letby was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Her crimes shocked the public and served as a grim reminder of the abuse of trust. Today, she remains a symbol of horror and treacherous cruelty, being the most dangerous female prisoner in the UK.
Rader.
Dennis Rader, known as the BTK Killer, became a true nightmare for the residents of Wichita, Kansas. The very embodiment of evil, he killed with the cold calculation of a predator, stalking his victims like a wild beast. From 1974 to 1991, his sadistic crimes claimed the lives of 10 people, including children. His signature was always brutal, leaving permanent scars not only on the bodies, but also on the souls of those who survived his attacks. Rader was so confident in his ability to evade capture
that he played a cat-and-mouse game with the police. He sent them letters and cryptic messages, delighting in the terror he caused.
This continued until one fateful moment in 2005 when he made a fatal mistake. He sent a disc with information about his plans to a local TV station. Forensic experts quickly identified the monster's identity. Today, Dennis Rader is serving a life sentence in a Kansas prison where, cut off from society, he can no longer harm anyone. For many, he remains a constant reminder that true evil can hide behind the most ordinary appearance.
Edmund Cullen.
Within the walls of Trenton Prison, there is a man who instills fear even in the most hardened guards and inmates. This man is Edmund Cullen, a former nurse who became one of the most notorious and ruthless serial killers in medical history. People trusted him, turned to him for care and treatment, unaware that he would become their executioner. Without a second thought, Cullen administered lethal injections, ending the lives of his patients. His crimes only came to light after numerous investigations, and in 2004, he finally confessed to his deeds, admitting to killing at least 29 people. Cullen is remembered as the darkest figure in medical practice. The court, finding no mercy, sentenced him to 11 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Now serving his time in Trenton Prison, his presence is a constant reminder of those irreplaceable losses and of how vulnerable we can be in the face of true evil. His story serves as a grim warning of how easily trust and power can be abused, and the unseen dangers that can lurk even in the safest places, hospital rooms.
Gacy.
John Wayne Gacy, better known as the Killer Clown, rightfully holds one of the most chilling places in the annals of criminology. Gacy was a charming and deceptive man who seemed to lead a normal life, participating in community events and performing shows dressed as a clown.
But behind the mask of charm was a terrifying individual.
From 1972 to 1978, Gacy killed 33 young men, luring them to his home, where they vanished without a trace. When the police arrested him in 1978, they discovered a shocking truth. Most of his victims' bodies were buried beneath the floor of his own house. Thanks to his cunning actions and the number of victims, Gacy became one of the most dangerous and notorious prisoners in American history. Although he was sentenced to death in 1980, his crimes and the horror surrounding them continued to be discussed even after his execution in 1994. John Wayne Gacy embodies pure evil, whose memory will linger for a long time.
Berger.
Rodney Alcala, also known by the alias John Berger, is considered one of the most dangerous prisoners in U.S. history. Born on August 23, 1943 in San Antonio, Texas, he left a bloody mark on criminal history with his brutal crimes against women. His method was both cunning and charismatic. Posing as a photographer, he lured women with promises of modeling opportunities, only to brutally murder them. For years, the police tried to capture the killer, but Rodney managed to evade capture for a long time, thanks to his craftiness and deception. His arrest in 1980 marked the culmination of a massive investigative effort and brought relief to many. This moment ended his bloody career, but the mark he left continues to haunt many to this day. Now serving a life sentence in a California prison, Alcala's actions have left an indelible impression as one of the most ruthless and dangerous criminals. His crimes serve as a dark reminder of how important it is to stay vigilant and trust one's instincts. The stories of these prisoners are not just a chronicle of crimes. They serve as a reminder of how darkness can infiltrate the most unexpected places, and how behind every horrific act is a person whose actions provoke not only fear, but also questions about the boundaries of humanity. And if you're not afraid of anything, enjoy intriguing stories, and have skills in writing scripts, editing, or voiceover work, feel free to join our Telegram bot via the link in the description. We'd be happy to collaborate. Thanks for watching.